Joining us now is Arthur Brooks. He is the president of the American Enterprise Institute, a leading conservative think tank in Washington. Mr. Brooks is the author of 8 books. His newest is The Road to Freedom: How to Win the Fight for Free Enterprise. And Mr. Brooks, congratulations on the book, and thanks so much for being with us today.
Thank you for having me. It's great to be with you.
Well, as a nation, we're facing a choice between two very different ideas of America, you write. One is that the key to our success resides with the government. The other is that the key to our success lies in free enterprise. What are the consequences if we as a nation don't choose free enterprise?
Well, we're going to get an expanding government that's going to take over more and more of our lives to begin with. And that means more debt, more deficits, higher taxes, and less opportunity at the very beginning, but it gets worse. And the reason is because we can't sustain that. Even if we wanted to do that, we would be going toward a precipice. We look what's happening across the Atlantic in Europe. We will ultimately face a Greek-style debt crisis. Maybe not next year, maybe not the year after, but it's only a question of time. So even if we wanted social democracy, like our European friends, and frankly, we've pretty much already gotten there, we can't sustain it, and we're going to wreck the economy, and that has huge human consequences.
That was going to be my next question for you. You say that the U.S. has already reached social democracy. Is long-term austerity an option at this point?
Well, I think we certainly do have social democracy already if you look at the numbers, and I'm afraid that austerity is in the future. If you look at any of the ways that we measure the size of government, if you look at the social democracies of Europe, we're already neck and neck with those guys. The percentage of GDP that we run through some level of government today, it's 36%. By 2038, it'll be 50%. We'll work from January 1st through June 30th just to pay for a government that we don't even like. That's higher than most European states at this point. It's equal to others. It's hard to say that we're not already a social democracy. It's also hard to say that we're not going to be facing that kind of austerity.
Now, 2 years ago, you published a book showing that about 70% of Americans say that they love free enterprise. How do you explain then why the government today is so bloated and powerful?
Yeah, I wish I could say that just because 70% of Americans say they love free enterprise and 70% say the government should be smaller, that we'd be on our way toward the ideas of our founders and back to our free enterprise ideals. But in point of fact, people will demand big government services piece by piece by piece. Politicians offer citizens goodies and they take them. The reason that on our side, those of us who believe strongly in the free enterprise system have failed is because we've basically failed to make the moral case for the system. All we make is the material case, and that's just not compelling enough.
Now, in the book, you write that the U.S. didn't get into this situation overnight, but would you say that this nation, under President Obama and his regulatory policies, faces the biggest assault on free enterprise in its history?
It certainly is competitive with that. There have been certain times in America's history where presidents will take on the free enterprise system, will foment class warfare, will escalate the scale of government services and regulations in ways that are a full assault on our free enterprise ideals. This is one of those times indeed.
Now, we learned this morning that hiring slowed in April. Critics of President Barack Obama's regulatory policies that include Dodd-Frank and the Affordable Health Care Act say that such laws are holding up hiring as businesses don't want to invest due to the uncertainty. Would repeal of those two pieces of legislation alone help with employment?
They would help a lot. And the other things that I would put in there would be reform of EPA regulations, reform of regulations in the labor market, and tax reform. You do those 5 things together, you're going to see a booming economy. The trouble is we're going in the wrong direction in all 5.
Now, the Senate rejected President Obama's Buffett rule, which, according to polls, is popular with voters. Would the Buffett rule help or harm free enterprise in America, and if so, how?
Well, it would harm free enterprise a lot, is the short answer. And in point of fact, it would bring in virtually no revenue to the Treasury. It would bring in something like $7 billion a year, which sounds like a lot until you consider the fact that we're running a $1.5 trillion deficit every single year. It'll hurt free enterprise because effectively what it does is it puts a headwind on the entrepreneurial class. You're basically telling people that if they get ahead, they're going to get smacked. This whole idea that if you're successful, you should either feel guilty or voluntarily want to redistribute your own income away. Come on, are you kidding me? This is the perfect recipe for bringing the free enterprise system down and making the whole country less prosperous, not to mention less free and happy.
Okay, your book is a manifesto and policy guide for the 2012 election and beyond. How do Americans set the nation back on its rightful course?
The first thing that we have to recognize is that we have failed. We have failed in the free enterprise movement to make the case adequately to Americans so that they will fight for it as well as us. And the way that we've failed to do it is by not making the moral case for what we believe. It's not good enough to say free enterprise makes us all richer. Everybody already knows that. We have to say it's the right system, it's what our founders wanted, it's why our ancestors came here, it's the fairest system for rewarding merit and creating opportunity, it's the system that gives us true earned success, and it is the only system that can lift up poor people by the billions around the world. What's more moral than that? If we fail to make this moral case right now, you and I both know that we probably don't have more than about 10 years left before we truly are a European-style social welfare state, and then it's kind of all over for free enterprise.
In the book, you say that the 2012 election, while important, is not a panacea for the problems. But would both Wall Street and Main Street have more confidence in a President Romney than President Obama to promote these free market ideals and to get the economy moving again?
When you talk to entrepreneurs and business people and look at the public opinion statistics, they do in fact say that the business community, the entrepreneurial community, would have more confidence, as far as we know so far, in a President Romney as opposed to a re-elected President Obama. That said, the most important thing that we can do is keeping our eye on the next decade. No matter what happens in 2013, we're still going to have to keep fighting. The worst thing that can happen to the free enterprise movement today is that something happens that people either like or don't like in the 2012 election and everybody goes home. An energized movement in 2013 and 2014 is necessary. Every important policy inflection, every step forward that's meaningful in public policy takes at least 10 years. This is the fight of a decade, and leaders have to be in it together.
Last question, Mr. Brooks. What role should the government play in helping those in need?
Almost everybody in the United States agrees that there should be some sort of a safety net. There are very few people in the United States who think we should get rid of all services from the government to the poor. Even Friedrich Hayek, the most important conservative economic voice of the 20th century, said that the primary role of government, besides sorting out market failures, is providing a basic safety net. So we need a basic safety net. But that doesn't mean middle-class welfare. That doesn't mean bailouts to crony corporations. That doesn't mean giving special deals to government employees. It doesn't mean sorting the risks out of life. It also doesn't mean trying to spread the wealth so you get more income equality. Those things have nothing to do with a social safety net, and that's exactly why we're going into the tank. We're wasting our money on things that actually make us weaker and less free.
All right. Well, again, the book is called The Road to Freedom: How to Win the Fight for Free Enterprise. It is available on Amazon.com. And Arthur Brooks, thanks so much for being with us and for joining us on Newsmax TV today.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be with you.
And thank you for watching Newsmax TV.